Hello guys, it's Lumi, and I'm level 100 on 1x4, and in today's video, I will be giving you guys the best guide, tips, and tricks on how to play 1x4 like a pro. To become a good user at any killer, first, you must understand his abilities. There are a few key factors to understand before we do a deep dive on 1x4. Every attack that 1x4 has inflicts glitch and poison to some degree. The glitched effect is pretty self-explanatory, but whenever you hit a survivor, their screen will be glitchy, which makes it hard for them to see. This would be really annoying, but most people have epilepsy mode activated, so they don't get affected by the glitch effect. Hopefully, this is fixed in the future, and poison just does tick damage every second the effect is active. If you hit them with an M1, you deal 20 damage and inflict poisoned 1 and glitched 1 for 5 seconds. This ability reveals the auras of all living survivors and applies speed 1 for 6.5 seconds, while also applying blindness 3 for 6.5 seconds. This ability is really useful because 1, it just tells you where everyone is at, and second of all, it gives you a speed amp which is essential for 1x. 1x is currently the slowest killer in Forsaken, so when you have an ability like this, you want to primarily use it for two things: for map awareness, to be able to see where all the survivors are at, and to initiate chases. 1x compared to the other killers is more prone to being looped and outpaced by survivors. So to close this gap, make sure to use Unstable Eye to start chases. After a short windup, 1x launches a projectile which lasts for 10 seconds at 125 studs per second. If it hits a survivor, it deals 10 damage, and 1x gains speed 2 for 3 seconds. The hit survivor has their aura revealed to the killer for 2 seconds, gains helpless 1 for 10 seconds, and gains slowness 10. The survivor is required to do a minigame to have their slowness X removed. The minigame requires the survivor to click on 5 pop-ups on their screen to free themselves. After a survivor escapes entanglement, they gain speed 1 for 1.25 seconds. A key thing I want you guys to understand, which is essential for being good at 1x, is that for chasing, he is terrible. He's not like Cool Kid, where you're extremely fast and it's really hard for survivors to outpace you. With 1x, he's much easier to loop just because he's the slowest. So with 1x, you want to focus on using your abilities to close the distance between you and the survivor. Once you close the distance, it's much better and chases are more feasible. But to close the distance with 1x, that's where most people make mistakes. So with 1x, the goal isn't to chase them down like you would with Cool Kid, but to close the distance first with your abilities, and then it's much easier to chase a survivor. With Entanglement, you just want to use it so you can catch up to a survivor or survivors and deal damage. This can be stunning them with Entanglement and chasing them, hitting them with M1s. There you would have close distance and you can chase effectively, or you can stun them with Entanglement and then hit them with Mass Infection. Now the hardest part about this ability, and just any projectile ability, is to actually hit it, which can be frustrating and hard. Your best chance at hitting this ability is to just recognize the survivor's pattern, and as you get used to the speed of Entanglement in combination with pattern recognition, it becomes much easier to land it. But one thing that you can never avoid is missing. There will be a lot of times that you'll miss, and that's completely normal and fine. Anyone who plays 1x will miss their abilities a lot, but that can't make you scared or discouraged to use your abilities. You should use it as much as you possibly can so you can close the distance between you and survivors. You'll be surprised at how many you can actually hit, but you need to actually use the ability to do so. Some things I like doing with this ability is that if I'm chasing a survivor and I know they're low on stamina, I will try to stun them with Entanglement, because as 1x, you're most likely going to be low on stamina as well, but while you use the ability, they still have to consume stamina to dodge it, while you are gaining stamina during the animation, which just helps you manage your stamina and helps you close out the chase. You can use Unstable Eye to see survivors you can catch off guard. It can be a builder man building a turret or a dispenser, someone doing objectives, and if they're close enough, instead of using Mass Infection, which gives the survivor a sound cue, and anyone who's played the game for more than an hour will recognize that that's 1x's Mass Infection sound, and they'll just get out of the way. So to avoid that, sometimes I'll just use Entanglement instead, which is less obvious than Mass Infection. And mind you, it's important to remember that when you do hit Entanglement, you get a speed amp. So make sure to take advantage of this, because if the survivor is able to escape the Entangle minigame, they gain speed 1. And 1x being the slowest killer already, this is something that you do not want at all. After a windup of 1.7 seconds, 1x launches a shockwave that deals 35 damage to those it hits. This projectile has a lifetime of 6 seconds. If it hits a player, it inflicts glitched 1 and poisoned 1 for 5 seconds. If it hits a player up close, it will inflict glitched 2 for 6 seconds and poison 5 for 3 seconds. And if you're extremely close to the survivor, to where your sword hits the survivor, it will deal an extra 20 damage. So in total, in that specific scenario, you deal 55 damage off this ability alone. Any survivor within 400 studs of 1x will hear this ability. A lot of tips I gave with Entanglement can be applied with Mass Infection. Believe it or not, despite 1x having a sound cue, using Unstable Eye and aiming for survivors who are grouped up or doing generators usually ends up and you hitting at least one person. But like we've mentioned already, it has a sound cue, so many survivors will move when they hear this. To counter this, you can just predict where they're going to move and aim there instead. With Mass Infection, you can also use this while chasing someone. You can regain stamina during animation, and it has a wider hitbox than Entanglement, so it's very similar in that regard. You do need to be careful though of who you use this ability around. You can get stunned out of the ability, so make sure no one can do that. Make sure that no one gets close enough to where they can stun you. Landing Mass Infection will be similar to Entanglement, but once again, like I've already mentioned, you need to take into account that people already know how your abilities work and will try to juke them. So if they're going left and you're aiming at them, they'll go right, but to counter their counter, you'll go right. But they could just keep going left to counter the counter to their counter, and that's when you just aim left. That was an exaggeration, but that is kind of how these interactions play out. It's just a guessing game between you and the survivor. Sometimes you'll be able to predict them or guess correctly, and sometimes you won't and you'll miss. One thing that can help you catch survivors off guard though is that you can use this ability out of sight, basically using it in a place where survivors can't even see you, and they'll just have to react as the projectile is coming at them. Of course, use Unstable Eye so you know where they're at. The only other thing you should be aware of with this ability is when it comes to elevations. In Yorick's resting place, the little white bridges, even if a survivor is on top of it, you can still hit them with Mass Infection. But if the elevation is greater than that, you will not hit them. And in some weird cases, you can have high ground, and if they're slightly below the projectile, it can still hit. But for the most part, if the distance is too much, regardless if it's up or down, you will not hit them. This can be a downside for 1x because your abilities rely on this elevation. It's not like Cool Kid where you can aim up or down. No, these abilities are straight only. So from whatever elevation you're at, that's the same elevation it'll stay at. So on certain maps, it can be harder for you. The best thing you can do is to elevate yourself from a different location to where they're at and try to hit them. 1x revives players you've killed into zombies. These zombies will summon at the exact spots where you've previously killed a player in that session. Summoned zombies wander aimlessly upon spawning and target players that are within a 30 stud distance from them. They lose focus on their target if the distance between them and the target exceeds a distance of 50 studs. Summoned zombies have 10 health and deal 14 damage to players. You can kill them to gain speed 1 for 10 seconds, with the maximum stack being speed 3, and each time you gain a stack, the duration resets. So if your speed is speed 1 and it's about to end and you kill another zombie, it will reset back to 10 seconds as speed 2, and so on until speed 3. That's the limit. The ability starts off with 0 charges, and a charge is given on kill, max of 1 charge. This ability is pretty simple. The way I recommend to use it is late game, so basically when there is 1 to 3 survivors left. Now if it's a bigger lobby, you can get away with using this ability with 3 survivors left, but if there's only 4 survivors in the lobby, you should only use it on the last survivor or maybe even the last 2, so you can use the zombies effectively. If used in a full lobby, this is where it'll be the most effective. The zombies add extreme pressure to survivors because not only would they have to run away from you, their stamina is going to get drained if a zombie targets them, so it helps you run down survivors, and zombies can even kill them if they're weak enough. You don't know how many times I've cornered and killed survivors with zombies, but the most OP part of this ability is the speed stacks. This helps out tremendously. I usually get the speed amp about speed 2. I try to reserve the minions just in case, but even in a lobby where the last survivor is managing their stamina better than you, they can loop very well. If you get the speed amp, all of that goes to the window. You will be able to catch up with them very easily and win the game. Remember, 1x's kit is supposed to help you catch up with survivors because 1x is the slowest killer. So take advantage of the minions because 1x already has insane damage. He just doesn't have chase capacity. But with the speed amps, you literally become OP. So key things to remember is that 1x's speed sucks. You don't want to catch up to survivors because you won't. The way you catch up with survivors is with abilities. Once you've caught up, then you can chase much easier. Use his abilities in combination. Do a lot of mix-ups with your abilities. And endgame, take advantage of the speed amps you get from killing zombies. And no matter how good you get at 1x, remember, missing your abilities is just part of the game. Don't get frustrated. It happens to everyone. If you're just starting to use 1x, experience is everything. You get a feel for the speed of your projectiles, which will help you determine where to aim, and you'll get better at landing your abilities. If you've made it this far in the video, you might as well like and subscribe. Only 0.2% of my viewers are actually subscribed to the channel. That helps out the channel a ton and helps me make the videos you guys want. If you guys have any more tips that I didn't mention, feel free to put them in the comments, or you can join my Discord server and get tips from there as well. The link will be in the description. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this guide, and I'll see you guys in the next one.